And welcome back to another podcast with Mr. Hagan. On this podcast, we are going to talk about efficiency, and we're specifically going to talk about efficiency in a pure competition market and in a monopoly market. So let's get right at it. Let's talk about pure competition and what efficiency looks like in a pure competition market. So here is the graph for a purely competitive firm. On the vertical axis, we have dollars, which are measuring the different costs and the different revenues. And then on the horizontal axis, we have quantity, which represents the amount of the good that the individual company is producing. Now, the other part that's really important with this is this curve right here. This curve is going to make up four things at once. That curve is the demand curve for the individual firm. It is the marginal revenue for the individual firm. It is the average revenue for the individual firm. And it's also the price of the good in the market. Now, the two of these that we're going to care about, the two of these that are important for this video are going to be demand and marginal revenue. And it's important to note that they are equal to each other. So what really is the demand curve? The demand curve really is the marginal benefit for society. It's the marginal benefit curve for society. It tells us how much the society likes this good. Now, notice that demand and marginal revenue are equal to each other. Now, if demand is equal to marginal revenue and demand is equal to marginal benefit, then that means that the marginal benefits, which is what society wants, is equal to the marginal revenue, which is what the firm wants. And that's going to be the power of this. That's what's going to cause the competitive firm to be allocatively efficient. Let's talk more about what that means. So what does allocative efficiency mean? Allocative efficiency means that the firm produces exactly where the marginal benefits are for society are equal to the marginal costs. Well, where would that be? Well, the marginal benefits, which are the demand curve, that's this horizontal curve right here. The marginal benefits, the demand curve, are equal to the marginal costs at this level of production right here. That's where society wants. That means that society wants this company to produce Q1 units of the good, however much that is. That's what society wants to be produced. Now, how much will the firm produce? Well, the firm will produce where the marginal revenue, that's right here, which is also the same thing as the demand, where the marginal revenue is equal to the marginal cost. And that also happens to be right here. That also happens to be the same place. So the firm is going to produce here a Q1, which also happens to be what society wants. And that is why the firm in pure competition is allocatively efficient. They produce exactly where the marginal benefit equals the marginal cost. Let me turn that into everyday language. What that really means is that the firm will produce the exact amount of the good that society wants. That's what it means to be allocatively efficient. Now, what about productive efficiency? Productive efficiency means that the firm will minimize, they produce at a level that will minimize the average total cost. Well, where's the average total cost? The average total cost curve, of course, is right here. Here's my average total cost curve. And so the firm will produce where the average total cost is minimized, which also happens to be right here. We keep coming back to the same place. So the firm will be productively efficient because they will produce at a level that minimizes average total cost. That's going to be right here. Everything happens right there. So let's say this again. The firm will produce where the marginal revenue is equal to the marginal cost. That's where the firm will produce. The firm will produce where the marginal revenue is equal to the marginal cost. And that's a Q1. And that also happens to be the exact place where the marginal benefits to society are equal to the marginal cost. So that's where society wants to be. And it also happens to be the place where average total costs are minimized. It also happens to be the place where average total cost is minimized. So all three of these are true at the same time. And so the firm, not because it's worried about society. The firm is just trying to maximize their profit where the marginal revenue equals the marginal cost. But in the process of doing so, they will be both allocatively efficient and productively efficient. Okay, that's what happens in competition. Now, what happens when we're talking about monopoly? In monopoly, this is going to break down. So now we look at these two graphs side by side. Why is this going to break down? Well, it's going to break down because in pure monopoly, the demand curve, which is the marginal benefit curve for society, that's what society wants, will separate from the marginal revenue curve, which is what the firm wants. So what will happen here? What happens here is the firm will produce where the marginal benefits for society, that's the demand curve. Sorry, let me restate that. Society wants the firm to produce where the demand curve or marginal benefits for society are equal to the marginal cost. That would be right here. That would be at QS. I called that S for society. That's how many units of the goods society wants the firm to produce. Where will the firm actually produce, however? The firm will actually produce where the marginal revenue is equal to the marginal cost. That will be their point of profit maximization. That's where the firm wants to produce is where they maximize their profits. So the firm will produce right here at Q1. Now here's the fancy language of economists. The firm will produce a Q1, which is less than what society wants, which is a QS, and so the firm will underproduce relative to the social optimum. The social optimum here is a QS. And so as a result of that, the firm will be allocatively inefficient. They will be inefficient. They do not produce where the marginal benefits for society equals the marginal cost. Okay, that was out here at QS, but that's not where they're going to produce. They're going to produce at Q1. They will also the firm will be productively inefficient. Why? Well, here's the average total cost curve. And as I say up here, the point of average total cost minimization will be right here. That's where the average total cost curve is minimized, but that's not where the firm produces. The firm produces here at Q1. Okay, society wants to be at QS, but the firm won't produce there. They'll produce at Q1. And the firm will fail to produce at a point that minimizes average total cost, because that would be right here where average total costs are minimized. And so they will be productively inefficient. They will fail to minimize the average total cost. And this all comes down to the basic fact that in pure competition, this is what's important. In pure competition, demand is equal to marginal revenue. What society wants is equal to what the firm wants. But in monopoly, demand is not equal to marginal revenue. Okay, and let me say that another way. Demand is marginal benefits, so demand equals marginal revenue is the same thing as saying the marginal benefits are equal to the marginal revenue. I'm not sure if I said that right. Let me restate that. The demand is the marginal benefits. That's what society wants. And that is exactly equal to the marginal revenue, which is what the firm wants. But for the pure monopolist, the demand is not equal to, it is not equal to the marginal benefits, which is what society wants. And therefore, the marginal benefits are not equal to the marginal revenue. And that's why everything breaks down. That's why in pure competition, the firm is allocatively and productively efficient, but in monopoly, they are allocatively and productively inefficient. All right, this has been Mr. Hagan on another Econ video. Thanks for joining me, and we'll see you on the next Econ podcast.